for Danielle, may I just put this on my shoulder for the rest of the show?
Whatever
I know Caputo's going to love it too. I know Pat's going to love it too.
Yeah, they will. I do want to ask you this, though. Game 2, I know you were watching Game 2 when Tampa Bay won and Blake Snell was on the mound. He pitched awesome. He had 9 strikeouts.
Yeah, sure I was.
He's going to be on the mound tonight, Art. So, hey, I think the Rays are going to do it again. I think we're going to see a Game 7. What do you think?
Well, I hope so. I will be honest with you. I kind of took I slept on Tampa this year. On the Rays, who I still affectionately call the Devil Rays. The reason is because this was always a team, whenever the Tigers played them, even when the Tigers were struggling, seemed to do very well against them. And they play in a stadium which is like a mausoleum, and Tropicana Field, unless they built a new one that I'm not aware of. And so, I just have never gotten any kind of excitement down there for them, and I've never really kind of grasp their team, but I've got to give them a lot of credit. They're a fun baseball team to watch. They never quit. They have a never say die attitude. However, I do think the Dodgers, because they were screwed by the Houston Astros, who cheated, who should not be world champions, that title should be vacated. But I think the Dodgers are just chomping at the bit. What legendary announcer Vince Scully, USA Today, the sports section, what's taking him so long? I think the Dodgers have a real chip on their shoulder. And I think that, and Blake Snell is an excellent pitcher. But I just think that, the Dodgers get it done tonight, as much as I would like to see a Game 7. I think that this is a team that is just angry at the world right now, and rightly so. And so I think that, LA's been waiting for this for a long time. There was a time when I was a younger man, and when Pat was a younger man, Pat Caputo, that is, I'm really excited to have the book on today, that, the Dodgers were almost perennial, National League champs, or playing for it all the time. And, and it's been a really long time. I just think that the stars, the moon, everything is lined up for an LA victory tonight. That's just my gut feeling. Yeah. But then again, if the Big Ten Network has Michigan doing something at the same time, I may not watch that game.
That's disappointing, honestly, Art. It truly is. I will be watching the
World
Series. One of your hosts
really shallow.
will be watching the World Series game to then talk about it on Thursday.
I'm going to be watching it, although, I really need a good crying jag, and This Is Us debuts again tonight. That show's very sad.
You can watch that later, though. You can do that on demand.
Oh, really? I'll have to figure that out.
All right. Like I said, at least you guys know one of us will be watching the World Series. I hope you will too. Game 6 is tonight. Let's move on to our third and final topic of today's Big Three. And we're actually going to talk about Nico Goodrum and Jonathan Schoop, who were both nominated for Gold Gloves. Art, when they were healthy and on the field together, they turned some double plays. I think this is a great nod to what they actually did for the Tigers in this season.
Yeah, Jonathan Schoop, his numbers kind of fell off, but I think he was trying to play through an injury, which eventually sidelined him. He was flawless at second base. I think, we've talked a lot about the Tigers' offseason moves, or about the free agents that they signed for only a year. And I think virtually every guest that we've had on has said that likelihood of, Crone and Romine and Schoop, those three, because I don't think Ivan Nova, he might be offered maybe a minor league deal or something, but the starting pitcher that they signed, and they traded Maben away, obviously, to Chicago. I think that Scope's the guy they're probably going to end up bringing back. And that seems to be, conventional wisdom, as I said, among our guests. Nico Goodrum, Nico wanted to play short. He, I know his bat was really shaky this year. And Willie Castro, I thought he played more games at short. I could be wrong, but I find it interesting. I find, good for Nico. It's a position that he wants to play. It's his natural position, and being among a Golden Glove finalist, that's great. Congratulations to both of them. And it would be nice. When I was growing up, way back then, way back in the olden days there, Daniela, sit up and pour yourself a sarsaparilla, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Al Kaline and Bill Freehand were winning Gold Gloves all the time. And I'm pretty sure Aurelio Rodriguez, who was a great fielding third baseman, he was part of that mix too. So, Gold Gloves are in the Tigers' history and part of their legacy. So it'd be nice to see a couple of Tigers win. I think it's going to be tough, but congratulations to them.
They're definitely in some good company just being nominated. It's going to be a tough competition to see who wins that. But congratulations to Jonathan Scope and Nico Goodrum for being nominated. That wraps up our big three for today, everybody. A big thank you to Chevy for presenting the big three. Chevy cares. That is why Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, everybody, it is the 25th anniversary of the Russian 5 debut. And in honor of that, we have not one, but two Hockey Hall of Famers joining us in Larry Murphy and Scotty Bowman later in the show. But right now, we're going to catch up with Carly.
That's right. It's time for Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined by new Red Wings center, Vladislav Namestnikov. How's it going, Vlad? Welcome to Hockeytown.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you're actually no stranger to Hockeytown, though. Your uncle, Slava Kozlov, a little bit of a Red Wings legend there. Do you have any fond memories of being around the team and at Joe Louis Arena?
Yeah, I was, a little kid, and he'd bring me to the locker room, and I get to, see their practices and games. So, I have kind of those memories, and yeah, now that I'm here, it's pretty awesome.
Amazing. So you were born in Russia, but moved to Michigan as a kid. Correct me if I'm wrong. Lived here for a good portion of your childhood. What is it like to play for your hometown team, if you will?
Yeah, I was 8 months old. My dad was a professional hockey player as well, so we made the move here. I believe we were in Utah first, and then we moved to Michigan. I went to school here and played minor hockey, and when I was 9, we went back to Russia. I played hockey there and came back at 17 and started my pro career here, I guess. And then it's kind of funny how it worked out. And now I'm in Detroit again, so I'm happy to join the Wings.
It's funny to see a bit of a full circle there for your family. And I understand your family is full of NHL players, not just Uncle Slava, but you have your dad and another uncle who also played in the league. Do you often get advice from them? Did they encourage and inspire you to play at all?
I didn't really have a choice to play. I mean, my mom kind of forced me into it. I didn't like it at first, but she insisted that I follow my uncle's footsteps, and I'm really happy that I did. It's all because of her.
So did you play any other sports growing up, or was it just hockey? Like there was no other dipping your toes in any other sports?
I mean, played a little bit of soccer, but nothing, competitive. Just as training in Russia, they play soccer a lot. So other than that, not really. I played tennis in the summertime. That's my favorite sport besides hockey. So
very cool. So I read that you went back to Russia, again, correct me if I'm wrong, when you were about 8 years old to kind of hone in on your hockey skills. Is that true? And if so, where was that decision made?
Yeah, we went back when I was 9. My dad went to play in the KHL, the Super League back then. So we made the move back to Russia, and I kind of had to transition and learn the Russian language, how to read and write, and I didn't know all that. So it's kind of an adjustment, but I managed it and played there for 8 years, and then came back to London, Ontario for 2 years, and then got drafted.
Manage it, you did. And as you just mentioned, the draft, let's talk about your journey to getting to where you're at today in the NHL, starting with the 2011 entry draft. Where were you selected in the first round by Steve Yzerman? What was that moment like?
It was awesome. It was almost 10 years ago, but I got selected in the end of the first round, so I'm kind of nervous. Everyone wants to go first round. And then Steve Yzerman calls your name, and that's special, and not just for me, but family, having ties to Michigan, and it's been good.
And you made your NHL debut. There seems to be a lot of Red Wings ties here. You made your NHL debut against none other than the Red Wings. And it's crazy to see that a lot of the common denominators in your life has to do with the Red Wings or with Michigan as a whole.
Yeah, I remember that moment. I was on the road in Springfield with the Syracuse Crunch, and then I got the call that I was going to make my first game against the Red Wings, and the excitement, and it's just awesome that you make your NHL debut against the team you've been rooting for. So it was a special moment for me and my family.
And the Red Wings just revealed the numbers for the new players acquired recently, yours being 92, as you can see on your nameplate there. Did you choose that because of your birth year? You've been 90 a few times. Was there any thought process behind that outside of that being the year you were born?
Yeah, I wanted to hang up, and 92 is my birth year, and I don't know, I just felt my heart was telling me to pick it, so there's nothing really to it, and just went with it.
Love it. Well, cannot wait to see you wearing it out on the ice. And so now that you're finally back in Detroit, what are you hoping to accomplish with this Red Wings team?
I'm just going to come in and bring what I bring. I think I'm a two-way player. I like to get my things done in the D zone and chip in offensively. And I think it's a young group here with a lot of talent. So I'm really excited for the season.
Love it. Well, we're excited too, and I cannot wait to see you out on the ice in a winged wheel jersey. We're keeping it in the family. Thank you so much for joining me on Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer Vlad.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again. Back to you, Daniela.
Thank you, Carly and Vlad. Great chat. They're really excited to see him in a Red Wings uniform. Now, you guys, we're going to get into our mailbag delivered to you by Little Caesars, and today's guest, Pat Caputo, making his Word on Woodward debut. Pat, we're really excited to have you. Art's been throwing a little shade already, so I hope you're ready for it. Oh, no, you might be muted. Can you check if you're...
Art's always throwing shade, and we go back a long way, and it's great to be here.
Hey, I like the way Pat is fonted. It says
Pat
Caputo, the book. Yes.
I don't know why I'm muted.
Oh no, we can hear you.
The lip sync is a little off, so we're gonna roll through it. So let's just do it because he can hear us and we can hear him. So I will start with the first question. Okay, question 1 is from Jake from Dearborn, and he asks, "This is a crazy World Series. The only question I have is, does it end tonight?" So Pat, what do you think? Are we going to see a Game 7 or not? All right, it looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. I'm sorry about that, you guys. Pat is just, it looks like you might be muted again.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, there you are. There we go. Okay,
there you go.
And the lip sync is, yes. All right, we're going to start that over. Pretend that never happened.
All right, here we go.
What do you think? Are we going to see a Game 7 or no?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the Dodgers are going to win because even though the pitching matchup goes in their favor tonight, with the Rays, with Snell going against a bullpen guy, an opener, so to speak, in a way, the Dodgers bullpen is rested. And I picked the Dodgers to win in 6 games, so why am I going to change now? And the Dodgers are situated really well with Buehler in that next game to start Game 7. So I think, and look at it this way. Who should win this series? How many Hall of Famers are on the Rays? 0. How many are on the Dodgers? 4 or 5. So it's just the Dodgers are going to have their moment. This seems like it's going to be their moment. They've got the edge, and I think it'll end tonight. But in a way, I'm hoping for Game 7.
I'm with you, Pat. I'm hoping for a game 7. I think it would be really great for the series. And I also do agree with you that it seems like it's the Dodgers' times, but the Rays, they've got some fight in them. So I'm thinking there's going to be a game 7. But
Well, they
question
do.
2.
I mean, I just don't maybe think they should go and try to steal home plate all the time. That wasn't a great move.
Yeah, that was weird.
No, that probably won't happen again tonight, but who knows? I guess crazier things have happened. Question 2 for Art. Jerry from Richmond Hill, Ontario asks, we are seeing some pieces being drafted or brought in for their size. Are any of these guys going to step into the footsteps or the penalty box of Bob Probert and Joe Kocur?
Before I answer that question, and Jerry from Richmond Hill, Ontario, excellent question. Excellent question, because this is a town that likes to play at rough and tumble hockey. They like the Bruce brothers. Probert's a legend. You still see his jersey today. Joey Kocur, great community guy, great player. But I have to ask Pat this one question. Pat, I watch you on the Channel 2 show all the time with Dan Miller, part of the Roundtable, Sportsworks. And your background, is that wallpaper? Because those aren't real books, right? I mean, this is like for 6 months I've been watching this background. What exactly is it?
Art, I don't want to give away my secrets.
Called out. He called you out.
Well, I want the whole world to guess about what my background is. And Art, I do have a sense of humor that's very much like yours. And the whole thing about that, just because everybody has their different background, and I've learned at certain points in your life you have to keep them guessing. Okay,
right.
So, but I'm very learned, and
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say you look like a very learned man with that background. Yes, and it's very impressive.
It is impressive. It's different, and I guarantee you that all these different backgrounds, everybody's talking about them. Everybody's looking there and saying, "What is that?" It's kind of my version of, the woman with the red mask behind Trump at the debate. Everybody's just kind of looking in the background, going, "What is that?" So, just like you, Art, you and I are a lot alike, Art, in a certain way. We got a certain way about us.
I know.
Okay.
I know. No, I know. It's just that every time I watch, at first I thought they were real books. And then I'm thinking, no, there's no way because it's too flat. It's just too flat. And then I go, then it looks like it's a door on the other side and with a mirror on it. I go, there's just, I try to figure that stuff out.
So I'm glad you're paying attention to what he's saying, Art. You don't listen to anything he says on the show. You just look at his background.
I've heard him enough.
There's a couple 100,000 people watching that every Sunday that I'm on, asking the same question while I'm, it takes away a little bit their mind if the Lions lost or something, or,
Yeah.
Or you mean when the Lions lose, more likely.
Yeah.
But anyway, I better answer this question. I really, the game's changed. Are we going to go back to the days of the Bruce Brothers or the Broad Street Bullies or anything like that? No. But if there is one player that will bring a physical element to the Red Wings, without question, we saw it a little bit last year. I think he came up for like 9 games. It's a player that I really like. I know that Steve likes him. He has a great work ethic. He's 6'2", 206 pounds. It's Giovanni Smith. I mean, Giovanni Smith goes out there, and all you have to remember, they were playing the Los Angeles Kings, the only time the Kings were in Detroit last year, and Drew Doughty could not believe that Giovanni Smith was just inside his grill, inside his head, and Doughty so much so that, they would skate off together as they were going to their opposite benches, and he'd be just shaking his head and he'd be laughing at him. He'd be talking to the other guys and pointing to him. Look, now that's not real physical. I understand that, but it was physical because he would challenge him. And my point being is that if Drew Doughty's worried about Giovanni Smith, that's a plus for the Red Wings as a team. So I think that if you're looking for that element, that physicality, and there's a couple of other guys that are going to provide it too, that are big or might play bigger than they are. But I think that Giovanni Smith, it will be that, not so much an enforcer, but will be a very physical player for the Red Wings, understands his role, and also has a bit of an offensive upside. I believe there were 2 goals that he wasn't awarded last year that he tipped in front of the net. So don't sleep on him offensively, but he's got the physical tools, and he works like a madman. So I would say that he would be at this point, and you don't need very many, and Pat knows this, you don't need many real enforcers or physical. I mean, you got to play a physical brand. It's a physical sport, and the Red Wings there's a team toughness to the Red Wings. But as far as, he would be the guy that I would look towards to, when liberties are taken, Giovanni Smith will make sure that they're cleaned up.
He's got to play well enough, Art, that he can justify a spot in the lineup. I think that's always a difficulty today, and can he play well enough to do that? He's shown signs that he can do it, but you certainly don't want, as we know, Anthony Mantha fighting his fights for himself, because you don't want him to get hurt. Some of their other players. And I do like, some of the toughness that they have in a traditional sense. With Hronik's a little nasty. He's got an edge on him.
Right.
Sider definitely has an edge to him, and he's going to be a physical presence. They have a number of players that have that certain type of edge. But Smith, he has to justify, double-digit minutes in a game, and can he play well enough to do that so that he can serve that role?
Pat, hold that thought.
I think it's a great point.
Yeah, both of you hold that thought about Mo Sider being tough, because our 4th question relates to that in a sense. So hold that thought. We're going to go to question number 3, which is for Pat. Travis from Oak Park asks, we are hearing the Tigers talking to a lot of names for the next manager, but I still like AJ Hinch. Would he be considered for the front run, or would he be considered the front runner for the Tigers manager position?
You know what? Al has interviewed more people. I think he might get down to interviewing Art Regner here soon. It seems like, he's talked to a lot of people.
Don't say that.
But AJ Hinch is, the perfect manager for pretty much any team he would go to. He's got, this scarlet letter on him about what happened with the Astros. But during that period, and this doesn't excuse it, he didn't like the monitors. He took a bat to the monitors a couple times. He, when they had this insular attitude, and their assistant general manager was awful, to a couple female reporters in the locker room of the clubhouse, he spoke up about it where nobody else spoke up about it in the organization, and took responsibility, because that clubhouse is run by the manager. And he was appropriately contrite after this. And he's a brilliant manager. He's been in scouting. He's been in player development. He knows analytics better than any manager, because he was with an organization that's brilliant at analytics, and the Tigers have upgraded that. The question is, does he want to come here? Because it is still in the a relatively early period of rebuilding. Will the White Sox hire him? But to me, he's the ideal candidate for it, more than Cora, who maybe wasn't as contrite. The good thing is, Al Avila knows A.J. Hinch well. He really does. He was running the minor leagues when A.J. Hinch was signed and played here 2003, and he knows Cora very well. So Al understands all the different elements of what's going into the job. But the question is, if Hinch gets more than one offer, is he going to take the Tigers offer? The other thing is salary. Revenue in the game is down because of the attendance, all those different things. Do the Tigers want to pay that extra few $1 million a year for an A.J. Hinch, or do they want to break in their own manager? And will they be in some kind of bidding war with another team? Because A.J. Hinch and the White Sox, to me, would seem like a match made in baseball heaven. So, but they were talking about Tony La Russa and all of these different off the charts things. But I don't think if A.J. Hinch were hired here, and the city got to know him, that there would be a big backlash to the degree that some think about the cheating scandal. He was the one person who, I'm not trying to excuse him, but he was the one person who handled that with some distinction.
Definitely. It's going to be an interesting situation. And as you said, there's been a lot of interviews. There's been 2 more today. So that makes 3 Yankees coaches, including Marcus Thames, Phil Nevin, who has a history with the organization, and Carlos Mendoza. So we'll talk more about those later in the show too. But yes, it's going to be very interesting to see who the Tigers ultimately hire at manager.
Yeah, I like George Lombard. I've heard a lot of good things about him. Marcus Thames has done a good job. There's a lot of good candidates for this. And I think Al will hire a good manager. I really do.
I agree with you. Like we said, just a lot out there right now. So we'll see when the Tigers ultimately narrow that down. Right now, we're going to move on to that 4th question, where I told you guys to hold your thoughts about Moritz Seider and his toughness. Check out this hit by Mo Seider in the SHL, and was really excited to see it until I saw that it was against another Wings prospect in Elmer Soderblom. Does this kind of play make Steve excited or nervous? Art, you answer this one first.
Well, obviously, I think it makes him pretty, I don't know. First of all, I don't know if excited is the proper word. I don't think Steve's going to be jumping up and down when he sees the play. I mean, it's a pretty good hit, but I mean, Mo's 6'4", 207 pounds. Soderblom is 6'7", 227 pounds. These guys were teammates last year when the Red Wings won the development tournament. And Soderblom came with, I think it was Berglund. They came and were on loan from their Swedish hockey team. So, no, I don't think so. I mean, it's hockey. They're going to hit each other. I think Soderblom and because that team bonded. I mean, they really bonded. I mean, 21 years of the Prospects tournament, they've won it 3 times, the Red Wings, and they've been the host team. And, this was the 3rd time they won it was those guys. And you could tell there was a tightness, and they were, as I said. So, I mean, I look at it this way. So far, in 4 games played for, I don't know how you pronounce it, Rogel or whomever in the Swedish league, Mo has one. Maybe Pat does. Yeah, I'm sure he's got some Swedish in him. One goal, 3 assists. He has 4 points in 4 games. Now Soderblom. Now for Frölunda, for the J20 team last year, after he was drafted by the Red Wings, 36 games, he had 55 points, including 29 goals. So what I think is really interesting about that is that Soderblom, as a 6th round pick, could really be a find. He's got size. I saw him play in the Prospects tournament, did not look out of place. So again, in a roundabout way to answer your question, I think these are 2 really good prospects. It wasn't a cheap shot. It was a clean shot. It was, around the boards there near the benches. That's always a little dicey, I guess. But overall, I think Steve just wants to see these guys develop. And, Mo, as Pat pointed out, is a physical player. So, no, I don't think that, again, I don't think he was excited. I don't think that he was worried and biting his nails off. I just think he was thinking, that's hockey. Mo saw a guy, he lined him up and he hit him. That's the sport.
Well, Darren McCarty used to go in those. Oh, I was going to say, Darren McCarty in training camp used to take guys out all the time. He showed no mercy, So it's a competitive game. You're trying to do what you can do. I just know that Art has always thought, since he's so obsessed with my, whatever I have here in the background, that he's wondering where the circle is in the face-off thing in the Swedish league with the big advertisement there in the face-off circle. So, it's, and I think if they did that in the United States, they could put a little Caesars guy on each hockey pant, so the Red Wings could sponsor them because they don't have enough, logos
I'd love to see.
on the.
I'd love to see it.
And please don't have me try to pronounce the name of the city where Modo is located, where the Red Wings' second round pick, one of their second round picks, Niederbauer, was taken and is played in that system where like Peter Forsberg and all these guys, came from, Victor Hedman and stuff. So, but it's, what? I love Mo Seider's physicality. He's a bigger defenseman. I think, the one question, and I think it was kind of answered last year, and certainly this league is a high-level league. It's an AHL league, the Swedish Hockey League, is his ability to handle the forecheck at the NHL level. Art used to be the neutral zone trap, the Red Wings, left wing lock, all those things. Well, now it's the forecheck. They're so fierce in the NHL. And far more so than like when I watch those Grand Rapids games on my iPad or, been to a couple junior games here lately. And was he nimble enough, had enough skill to get the puck out of his own end? It looks like he has that. He definitely has an edge. He's got that ability to make the right pass at the right time. That was a very profound draft pick by Steve Yzerman. If they redid that draft, there's no way, the Craig Buttons and the Bob McKenzies would have him in the middle of the first round. He would be rated higher than that based on the way that he played. So I really like him. And when you have him and Hronek, who's got a little edge to him too, he's not as big, but they're both right-handed shots. And it kind of gives them a nucleus for their blue line moving forward. And I would be surprised, and I don't know, who knows when it's going to start up and all those things, but Seider's going to push himself onto that team. I thought last year he definitely would have been in their top 4 defensemen, probably in their top pairing. Now, he's not going to play with Hronek as 2 right-handed shots, but that gives you those 2 pairings, 2 guys on there to lead it that'll play a lot of minutes. Then, you find the lefty shot to play along with him. And it was good in the offseason that he signed Merrill, who's a lefty shot. And the one thing I noticed about what they're doing, it's about puck possession. They really need to possess the puck much more. They had a Corsi last year, it's 45.6. In comparison with a team like Tampa, it's like 53. So that 8% where the other team is possessing the puck was deadly for them. Everything they've done. I looked at Bobby Ryan, his puck possession after he got over his problems was over 52 on a bad team. Merrill had traditionally had pretty good puck possession, especially when he's played with Vegas, although it was a little bit below the team average. When they drafted Raymond, why would you draft Raymond? What was the big appeal to him? Well, I think the biggest thing is that he keeps the puck on his stick and he moves the puck forward. That's what Mantha does well. His Corsi was well over 50 and always has been. Larkin was over 50, and they were the only 2 guys on the team that were above 50 in Corsi. So as Yzerman's put this thing together, he's balanced left and right. He's balanced, puck possession. And you can see a method to what he's doing with this. And Seider fits into that perfectly. And that ruggedness, they need some competitive ruggedness. Now, he's not going to go out there and fight like crazy, but trust me, when he's 23, 24 years old, they're not going to want to go near him. All right?
Right.
Because he's just, he's young. He's going to get big. He's going to be one of those guys that looks like a linebacker in his skates.
He's going to be big. He's going to be a biggin. He's going to be a biggin there, Patrick.
He's got an edge to him.
You know what's interesting?
He's in that men's league last year, Art.
Right. You know what? What's interesting? What's really interesting about that point when the Red Wings were unsure if they wanted him to play in the AHL or go back to Mannheim, and because they figured the AHL is such a physical league, and he was so young that they figured if we can get 15, 16 pushing it minutes a game. At the end, he was playing like 27, 28 minutes a game for Grand Rapids. I mean, the kid is definitely a fine.
They had some veteran minor league guys that put up good numbers, but in my opinion, watching the end of their season, I watched a lot of their games before everything was shut down. I thought he was their best player.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with it.
All right, guys.
Danielle, you could. Pat and I can go on for a while. We can.
Good stuff. That's what we have for, right? For you guys to talk about
Pat
all these questions.
If you want us to talk till 2, we're more than capable of doing that.
I'm well aware. I know Art could do it by himself, and with Pat, you guys wouldn't even have to think twice about it. I know. But Pat, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It was great chatting with you. You did great on your word on Woodward.
Thank you, Daniela.
Chatting with you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. See y'all later.
Go green. Go green, Pat. Go green.
Yeah,
go green, buddy.
All right.
Sorry, canoe.
For delivering the mailbag, Little Caesars proudly introduces their hot and ready pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. Wow, it's like Art and Pat are friends or something, and they've worked together before. That was great. Thanks again to Pat for joining us. But now we are going to get into Bet You Didn't Know, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers. And we're going to bring in Carly for this one as well. And we're going to get right into it, you guys, because I don't know. Art probably could still talk more. We know he can always talk.
So.
I
never thought I was going to be brought in. I thought the show was going to end before I even got to talk on this show. Lord, you do.
Maybe their own separate show.
He's a fellow Spartan. You guys should love him.
We didn't say we didn't.
You love him. But Art, man, when you guys get together, there is no interjecting.
Dynamic duo.
I tried to explain it. When I knew Pat was going to be on, I knew it was good. At one time, we went through the starting lineup, all 22 starters, and then kicker and punter between Michigan and Michigan State on the air, and we developed which player was better. And I mean, we didn't even get into that. Pat, Pat's one of my dearest friends. I love the guy. I absolutely love him. He was hilarious. He's hilarious. And that background, I don't know what that background is.
Full 2 hours.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Carly. I appreciate it.
Art's doing it again. Okay, let's get into this bet you didn't know. As we have mentioned a couple of times on today's show, it is the 25-year anniversary to the date of the Russian Five making their debut. The Russian Five consisted of Sergei Fedorov, Igor Larionov, Slava Kozlov, Vladimir Konstantinov, and of course Fetisov. And today we're going to take a look at how the Russian Five ultimately became Stanley Cup champions, because it wasn't an easy process. And Art, I'm going to have you start this off talking about Russian hockey before the NHL, because they were established hockey players before guys started coming over to play here.
Well, many, many years ago, it all starts with the Russian Red Army team, the Central Red Army team, whatever you want to call them, back in the Soviet system. From 1954 through 1991, they won virtually every international tournament and the Olympics. Now, remember, the NHL, the Americans and the Canadians weren't sending their best teams because you could not be a professional athlete back then. I mean, they were incredible. I mean, if you look at their stats, I mean, and there's Fetisov. They were absolutely dominant. And why were they dominant? Because they played in 5-man units from day one. They developed it. We can look at, a world junior line. I know we're going to get into this a little bit too. Was Sergei Fedorov, Alexander Mogilny, and Pavel Bure considered to be the best junior line of all time? Why was Sergei so good on faceoffs? Why was he so good defensively? Why was he 3 great players in one? Because in the Russian hockey school, the way he was taught, Sergei had to play defense, whereas the wingers were just, flying around, going crazy, scoring goals. Sergei was the one who always had to go back. And so, their overall record in international competition in that period was 738 victories, 110 losses, which I don't know how they lost 110 times, and 65 ties. I mean, that's where it all gets. They had a great coach in Viktor Tikkanen from like 77 through 91. He was a real taskmaster. The Red Wings that I got to know would talk about Tikhanov really, and just say that, he was not a nice guy. But and you look at it, Igor Fetisov, Valery Tretiak. Tretiak was the one, Chris Osgood's mask. That's a Tretiak mask. Tretiak was the first goalie I saw who wore a helmet with a cage on it. I had never seen that before, which makes sense to me. I think you could breathe better. But anyway, he was the first one. Guys were wearing masks back then. So he revolutionized the sport. As much as I love Ken Dryden in that, I really always like Ken Dryden. But Tretiak to me, and I think Dominic Hasek would even say this, without question, the modern day goaltender, what goaltending is all about. And I know, different styles come and go, but Tretiak was the best. I mean, he was just incredible, absolutely incredible. And when Tikhanov got all PO'd at him in the 1980 Olympics and took him out of the game against Team USA, That's how Team USA won that gold medal. He wasn't in net. He was not in net for like 2 of those periods, 2 out of those 3 periods, because Tikhonov, the hard Russian coach, no, Tretiak, I'm mad at you. Boom, we pull you, and boom, what happens? Michael Rizioni and all those guys are dancing. They didn't win the gold. That was not the gold medal game. They had to beat Finland the next day or 2 days later, but that's what put them over, the miracle on ice. If it wasn't for Tikhonov pulling, I wasn't expecting to get on this tangent, but with Tikhonov pulling Tretiak in that game, there would have been no miracle. There would have been no miracle on ice. There wouldn't have been, because Tretiak was that good. But I mean, their team, their system, and then we saw it with the Russian 5. When those 5 came together, I mean, they revolutionized hockey. The NHL is a fast league, and Pat was absolutely right. It's all about forechecking, time and space. You've got to make a quick decision. Every European player that comes over here says the same thing about the smaller ice surface. It is a much quicker, much faster game because there's no time and space. That's why someone's on your butt right away. You better know what you're going to do with that puck. And, the Russians, they always knew what they were going to do with that puck because of the way they were a puck possession team, the way they circulate on the ice. We're talking to Scotty Bowman. I'm going to tell him, I mean, it was like watching the Russian ballet. I mean, it was choreographed. And that's why the Russian Red Army team, the CCCP, you remember those red jerseys with I was flabbergasted, as Jimmy Devellano likes to say. I was flabbergasted because I had never really seen anything quite like those old Soviet teams.
Well, Art, you mentioned Sergei Fedorov briefly, and really getting these Russian players to play in the NHL was a process. A lot of them had to defect, which wasn't easy for them. That is a hard decision to make. It could be a dangerous decision to make. But let's focus on Sergei Fedorov specifically. What was his road to Detroit like?
Well, first of all, you've got to remember, at 16 years old, Sergei was already playing for CSKA Moscow. He was 16. Sergei tells the story. And I want you to know the background that he actually really came from. He's 16. He's at his parents' house, and they're talking about him going to engineering school, going to college. He wanted to be an engineer. That's what Sergei wanted to do. There was a knock on his door. Door opens up, and it's the Red Army. And guess what they tell him? Congratulations, you're a lieutenant in the Red Army, or whatever rank he was. So they grab him. They take him to a barracks, a headquarters, and he's part of the Red Army team at 16. That was it. He had no idea. He didn't know. I mean, he kind of knew he was a pretty good hockey player, but he wanted to be an engineer. From that moment on, Sergei Fedorov was considered to be one of the best players in the world, and because of that system. So what happens is over time, these guys were in barracks. It was like 10 months out of the year, they all stayed there. Then they would play these international tournaments where they were great. Sergei tells this story. They're going down, Broadway or something in New York. They're driving to Madison Square Garden. I made that drive in a bus. I mean, it's really slow. It's really long, and the streets are teeming with people. It's New York City. And he said that he would sit there and he would see kids his own age, teenagers, American teenagers for the most part, and they were in their, Levi jeans and great looking tennis shoes and, probably members only jackets and all this, high fashion stuff. And here he is, one of the greatest hockey players in the world. I mean, just a budding superstar. I mean, he's great. He's playing with Mogilny and Bure. I mean, best junior line, as I said. He looks down, and he's wearing pants that have holes in them. The bottom of his shoes, are all full of holes. And he's sitting there thinking to himself, what am I doing? That's when he decided to defect. That's what Sergei told me. I believe it. It was at that moment where he saw how they were treated, even though they made him great hockey players, number one, but he just saw that whole system, and it just turned his stomach. So at the 1990 Goodwill Games, this Ted Turner thing, which was going to rival the Olympics, that didn't go that well, Ted. But anyway, Russia was there. They were playing, and it was in Portland, Oregon. And so what happens is Sergey, after a practice, he leaves, and this happened a couple of times. I always thought it was Nick Polano, but I guess it was Jim Lights. But Nick Polano was Peter Klima. Sergey walks into the hotel. There's Jim Lights sitting there with a newspaper. That was the signal. Go collect whatever you're going to collect in your room. Come right back down. We're getting in a car, and we're driving to the airport. And so Sergey goes up. He's rooming with the trainer of the Russian team, of the Red Army team, or the national team at that point. And he tells them, look, I'm defecting. I'm going to Detroit. Don't say anything. And the guy said, okay, I won't. Sergey goes down. He meets Lights. They get in a car. He's whisked away, Mike Ilitch's private jet, and he flies to Detroit. That's how he got out. The rest is history. It's the 1990 Goodwill Games in Portland, Oregon. And then they give him to Sean Burr, who says, Sean, the late, legendary, great Sean Burr. God, do we miss him. Sean Burr was a classic. So they give him to Sean Burr. Sean Burr says, I take him out on my boat. And he goes, the only words that he knows in English are steak and milk. And that's all Sergey wanted, was steak and milk. He takes him on this boat, and Sergey, European, Sergey's in these like really tight Speedos. And so he comes out, and it's just, the Sean Burr tells a story. He looks at him, and it's like, no, dude. No, you're not. This isn't Russia. This isn't Europe. You're not wearing this. We're not wearing that on my boat. So he gave him baggy pink shorts to wear, and that's what Sergey wore as he was drinking his milk and eating his steak. But Sean Burr had a lot to do early on with Sergey's acclamation to North American hockey.
Well, Carly, I hope you remember what you're talking about today. That was a great story, and I'm just kidding. That was it's incredible. But Sergei Fedorov eventually was a part of the 97 Stanley Cup championship team along with the rest of the Russian Five. And not only did they get to parade the Stanley Cup down Woodward, the cup also went somewhere else that year.
That is true. Very, very cool. The Stanley Cup made its first ever appearance in Russia after the Red Wings won, as you mentioned, in 1997. How cool is that to be able to take it to your hometown? Leonov, Kozlov, and Fetisov took the cup with their home country for a 5-day tour. For Russian fans who closely followed the Russian Five, they were able to bring it home. Look at that. It's amazing. Like, how cool is that to be able to bring it to your hometown? So this was, again, like I said, the first time the Stanley Cup was in Russia. Perhaps the most memorable moments of the Cup's trip overseas was its stop, as you can see here at the Red Square, surrounded by tourists, media, and some diehard fans. I read that the guys were saying that they got calls, they got mail, they got faxes from some of these Russian fans. So how amazing to see that, everything going on political wise between those two countries, and sports was able to bring them together. It was very cool.
What are you shaking your head about over there?
I mean, because if it wasn't for, because I think that Slava Fetisov and Igor Larionov are heroes, are modern day heroes. They stood up to the oppressive Soviet government. And, Igor, when you were 30, the Russian Ice Hockey Federation decided that they could leave. You're 30, you're old. It's like Logan's Run or something. Okay, yeah, you can go to North America, but you had to give half of your salary to the Russian Hockey Federation, no matter what you were making. So Igor goes over, he's playing for Vancouver. He goes over, he comes back, and he looks in the Russian Ice Hockey Federation. These guys are driving Mercedes. They're in these beautiful houses and all this. And then he goes to his hometown, to a dilapidated rink where the kids, his countrymen, but, the guys from his hometown, like me coming back, I guess, to Livonia and going to Eddie Edgar, and it's in disrepair, and it's, and these guys are rusted blades, skate blades and all this. So he told the Soviet government, he's, kind of like his Tiananmen Square kind of moment. He said, guess what? I'm not going back to the NHL. I'm going over to Switzerland and playing until you can guarantee me that the money that I have to give to the Russian Ice Hockey Federation goes to my hometown to fix that rink up and make sure that these kids have proper equipment and proper skates. And Igor left the NHL and then came back. You know, Fetisov, his story is even more incredible, which I know we've been really long today, which I knew was going to happen with Caputo on the show. But,
Caputo.
but I want to say, I love blaming. I love blaming Pat. But what I really want to say is that those two guys and many others too. I'm going to forget the others, but they're the most associated, obviously, with the Red Wings for what they did. You know, I know we have a tendency to forget. You know, Russia's Russia, but when I was growing up, it was the Soviet Union. And, you know, and they hated us and we hated them. That's where I went up to Igor one time. This is where I know I've said this quote before. I go, Igor, you're such a cool guy. Why did you hate us? He goes, Art, we thought you hated us. He goes, you know, Art, he goes, it's just politics. It's all. And then he said another word, which I can't say on TV. It's BS, but he didn't say BS. It's all BS. He goes, he said, remember, Art, we're all made from the same material. And that's why he's the professor. He put it in perspective. He's absolutely right. You know, so I love Igor. I love all five of those guys. I mean, they were real trailblazers and they changed hockey for the better.
Absolutely.
That they did, Art. And you're just full of some Russian 5 stories. So we've got 2 new shows coming out of today's show. The Pat Caputo and Art Regner 5-hour show, and then Art Regner talking about the Russian 5. So I'm glad we've got 2 new ideas out of this one. Great stories, Art. It's great to talk about the Russian 5. They really did change the game of hockey and really change the world for Russian hockey players. And that does it for Bet You Didn't Know today, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook. Bet You Didn't Know is presented by PointsBet, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers. Download the app and follow PointsBet USA on social media for more information. And now, you guys, we're going to continue this hockey talk and get right into Downtown Hockeytown, presented by Labatt Blue Light. Today's guest is Hall of Famer and 4-time Stanley Cup champion, Larry Murphy. Larry, it's great to see you as always. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, it's always good to become part of this forum. I enjoy to watch it and enjoy being part of it even more.
We love having you, and we are going to talk some Russian 5. I'm sure you heard Art talking about it in that last segment, so we'll get to that. But first, I do want to talk some Red Wings with you. The last time we talked to you was on draft night, and a lot has changed since then, to say the least. The Red Wings were active on the free agent market. What are your thoughts on what Steve Yzerman was able to acquire during that time period?
Well, he's improved the team. He's acquired assets through the draft picks, so he's got a lot of young kids that he drafted in this past draft. Plus, he's added veteran players to the lineup to improve the culture, improve the team, because that helps everybody. Yes, you can pile as many young guys on the team as you want, but it's important to have a team that's doing well, winning, learning how to be professionals for these young kids. So what he's done is he's improved the team quickly. Now, it remains to be seen how many of them are still going to be with the team after a couple of years, but I'm excited about the additions. And of course, Grice in net is going to improve that area considerably. I mean, poor Jimmy Howard had a rough one last season, but so upgrading goaltending, that's the first step right there to make the team better. So Yzerman, yes, he's not going to make any huge moves or trade away picks to get good tomorrow. But what he has done, though, through free agency, has done exactly that. He's made this a better team, and I'm very impressed with all the work he's done.
Larry, first of all, Danielle, you don't know this, but, we secretly always called Larry Mr. Holiday because he just embraces whatever the holidays are. And as you can tell, I love the pumpkin motif behind you. It looks great. You're all set for Halloween. I don't know if the orange and brown pumpkin there, if that's a black cat coming out of it or whatever, but Larry, great look. Really, really love it. Because Larry is Larry. That looks good. Very nice, Larry.
Well, obviously, I got to be careful in the future. I got to make sure I check to see what's behind me because, Art, you don't miss a trick.
Just pumpkins, you're good.
Well, yeah, you know what's really interesting? Larry does it up for Thanksgiving because he celebrates 2 Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Canadian Thanksgiving, which usually, I love Canadian Thanksgiving because usually my Argonauts, my Toronto Argonauts, play the Hamilton Tiger Cats on every Canadian Thanksgiving Day, usually, or it's one of those holidays. But I love Canadian Thanksgiving, and then I love American Thanksgiving, because before I started covering hockey, there was only one Thanksgiving. But then when you start covering it and you're talking to Canadians, they very, and rightly so, point out, well, that's American Thanksgiving. And I'm thinking, okay, but Larry celebrates both of them. You talked about Steve. I know you were his teammate. I know you played against him for a long time. How impressed are you with the job that he's done? I mean, in a very short amount of time, he's really significantly changed this roster.
Well, I'm impressed, and I talked about Grice previously, and the Matsnikov. I mean, that's a guy that's really interesting. Colorado, they kind of got delegated to that fourth line, but this is a guy throughout his career when he played with Stamkos and Tampa and 20+ goals. This is a guy that's going to come in, either play second or third line center. I mean, it's a free agent, and he's committed to him for 2 years and not a big cap hit. So right there, I mean, this is a guy that's proven himself in the past and kind of got pushed out in Colorado. An opportunity now to be an impact guy once again, and we're going to see him on the power play. Of course, Bobby Ryan coming in, just a 1-year commitment, but this guy still can play. I mean, he was still a big part of Ottawa's power play last season, so he's going to be obviously on the first or second unit there. Right there, 2 guys right there that have just made this team that much better, including Grice in the net. That's 3 guys. So yeah, I think he's done a great job. Of course, now he's going to, Bertuzzi's going to be all settled through arbitration. Of course, Fabry's signed. Now he's just got to look after Mantha. And we're putting together, the Wings are putting together a much better team on the ice this season than they did last.
It definitely is exciting. And one thing I noticed, Larry, when we were talking to these guys via their Zoom press conferences, was how much they actually did want to be in the city of Detroit. For a team that only won 17 games last season, what does that say? As a player, you played on multiple different teams. What does that say about the organization and having these guys want to play here?
Well, it's spearheaded by Steve Yzerman, and they have confidence in his plan. And this is an opportunity for them to really take off on their career. Well, for Bobby Ryan, it's a case to get it back on track. But he's a smart guy. He knows he comes here. Team's on the upswing. If he produces this year, shows that he's back to snuff, he's going to end up with a couple of more years in the National Hockey with a team on the rise. So yeah, they believe that this team has turned the corner. Yzerman has managed it well. He laid out his plan from day one, and he hasn't moved from it. He said, yes, I'll add guys, but I'm not going to go out and get some big name guy and sign him for 5 or 6 years. That won't help our team in the long run. We got to build from the draft. We got to build within, and we want these guys to develop on a team that's got a good culture in the dressing room, good culture on the ice, winning some games. So he's making sure that's the case. See, the mistake then he did, of course, he didn't avoid. He's a smart GM. Look what he did to Tampa Bay. I mean, they won the Stanley Cup basically with his lineup. He knows that just loading the team with a bunch of young guys on the ice is not going to do it. These guys are going to go astray. So you want good leadership. You want the team to be competitive, and that's what he wants to do. So yes, he's building from the draft. But we're going to see a product on the ice that's going to be competitive and going to allow guys to take that next step on the way to being a real strong National Hockey League team.
Larry, you're such a philosopher. Many a young man has gone astray. I think I know by experience. But with that said, I want to move over to you played against them. You were with Toronto when they debuted 25 years ago today in Calgary. The Russian Five. I think the Flames had the puck for all of 9 minutes for the whole game and had like 5 shots. I mean, what was it like to play against them and then eventually coming to Detroit and being teammates with the Russians?
Well, I was fortunate. I was in Toronto when this was all going on, and I wasn't put in a situation where I was on the ice chasing them around for a shift. I didn't really get to appreciate it, Art, until I got here to Detroit and saw when Scotty would implement those guys. They never played together throughout the game. It was a case of when things needed to be turned around, momentum, have you, a good time. So Scotty felt, you throw them together and get them on the ice. And I remember really the first great look I had at him was sitting obviously on the bench with Detroit, and just I mean I've played against the Soviets, I played against the Russians, so it wasn't like it was something I hadn't seen, but something I hadn't seen in the National Hockey League before. So it was great that they implemented it, and yeah, they keep keepaways. You well know, I mean they'll take the puck past the blue line. If they're not happy with the way the setup is, hey, they'll take it back down to their own end and regroup. They didn't care. They used the whole ice. They're all moving, flowing, skating, passes from one side to the other. It was difficult for a lot of guys that were just used to playing National Hockey League hockey. And it was for you're so spot on. I mean, they'd go the whole shift. They'd have the puck the whole time. The opposition wouldn't touch it. But it was something that Scotty knew. Game in, game out, that wasn't the way to success. He thought teams would catch on, play smart. It was a weapon that he would implement at different times when he felt they had to kind of change up things out there.
Larry, I know Art really wanted to ask you about this too, and we're getting near the end, so I definitely want to hear what you have to say about it. But Sergei Fedorov was actually your D partner for a short period of time, wasn't he? What was that like?
Well, Daniela, I loved it. I mean, Sergei, a forward, and he basically, I don't know, I guess he played forward on the defensive position. He was responsible defensively. He's a good enough skater and a smart guy that knew positioning-wise where he should be. But for the most part, he was like the fourth forward out there, and he'd get a hold of the puck. And I had to be on my toes playing with him because his approach was unconventional. But having said that, still very, very effective. He's a talented guy. He was always a great player in both ends of the rink. Mr. Excitement with the puck. I mean, this guy could make guys look real bad offensively, but he always was the guy that cared about playing his own zone. And when he played defense, he realized, that's an area of the game that we've got to look after. But still, when I was out there with him, I knew if I got a hold of the puck, boy, just pop it over to Sergei, and he'd take it all the way. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was a partner like no other I've ever played with. Very unconventional with his approach, but very effective. He was a guy, he found ways to stop guys, and he found ways to move the puck up into the other zone.
Larry, I know you thought that it was almost a permanent move. You thought that Sergei was going to be moved back to the blue line. And I remember, I don't know, after one game, and I went up to you, and, it was just you and me, when players actually stayed in the room after a game and didn't go back into the, where you need a retina scan to get back to see them. So you're just hanging there after the game like most Red Wings did back then. And so I go up to you and go, what's it like playing with Sergei? And you go, if he continues to play defense, he's going to win the Norris Trophy. And I'm thinking, my gosh, seriously? Do you think that if he would have stuck there, that he would have won the Norris?
No, that was a bit of a stretch, Art. I was taking a page out of your book. Maybe you can expand a little on the truth. Played right into your wheelhouse. Yeah, Sergei's not going to win the Norris Trophy. But Sergei was, basically I was making the point that this guy's effective and he could be a top defenseman in this league just because of the level of talent. He could play all positions. He's a great skater and he knows the defensive side of the puck as well as he does the offensive side. So it fit in perfectly for him. And he gave the opposition fits. I mean, they were worried, but he was a guy that they had to be concerned about his offense no matter where he is on the ice. And coming from that defensive position, he had the knack of undressing guys at any spot in the ice. He could deke around a lot of guys. So it created a lot of problems for the opposition. He got hands off to Scotty because Scotty loves. That's the one thing about Scotty, playing the Russian 5 like he did, putting Sergei back on defense. Scotty always wanted to do something different that no one else had done. He wanted to be very innovative, and putting Sergei on the point was one of those things. He was very good at that, Scotty, at trying to think outside of the box. And then with Sergei on the defense, that's why he did it.
We're actually talking to Scotty Bowman later in the show too, Larry. So we're going to get his perspective on that too. And thank you so much for joining us. It's been great chatting with you. It always is.
Thanks, Danielle. And Art, take care, buddy. And I'll make sure next time to change things up for you behind me. You're going
to have a
to make it interesting
Thanksgiving
for you.
I'm not sure. In America, it's a turkey. I don't know in Canada exactly if it's a turkey or not. So I'm really eager to see what your display will be next time.
I am too. You're at a high standard now, Larry. We're high expectations.
Oh, I know. I'll start working on it now.
All right.
Thanks, Murph.
Yeah, thank you again for joining us, Larry. And a big thank you to Labatt Blue Light for presenting Downtown Hockey Town. Labatt Blue Light, refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. As mentioned, Scotty Bowman will be joining Art later for the headliner, and we'll talk some more hockey, Russian 5, all of that good stuff. And right now, we're going to get into Breast Street Beat and talk some Tigers baseball with our good buddy, Dan Dickerson, your Tigers radio play-by-play announcer. Dan, as always, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Always good to talk baseball, especially on a 39-degree rainy day here in Clarkston.
He's inside today, I noticed. He's inside. He's not on the porch, so it must be really cold.
Come on now, Double D. You're a hardy soul. You should be out in the park on that fenced-in porch. Screened-in porch, I meant. Oh, screened in, not fenced in. If it's fenced in, then Dan's been incarcerated, so that's not the case. A screened in porch.
Screened in, yes, that would be the proper terminology. And I am going to be back out there for you only, Art, by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, Dan, let's do some Tigers baseball. First question, or really just comment. Let's talk a little bit about Nico Goodrum and Jonathan Schoop, who were both nominated for Golden Gloves. Jonathan Schoop at second base, Nico Goodrum at shortstop. Really, I just think this says a lot about what they did for the team when they were healthy and they were able to play on the field, even together a lot of the times.
Yeah, they really were good. And it does tell you how good Nico Goodrum was before he got hurt. And remember, when he got healthy, they wanted to take a good long look at Willie Castro. They knew that Nico was the better shortstop, but they want to find out about Willie Castro. But just don't forget how good Nico Goodrum was at shortstop. If he had hit a little bit more, I think we'd be talking about him as a real candidate for shortstop for the long haul. I mean, this guy's good. And the two of them worked so well together. It was just too bad to see Nico struggle so much with the bat. I still think he can get back to where he was the last couple of years, which was doing things like that, hitting for power from both sides, ability to draw a walk. He's going to swing and miss some, and he's going to, but he'll draw walks to get on base. And when you play shortstop and you're an average hitter with some pop, there's great value in that. So I know Willie Castro is getting that shot, but Nico Goodrum, this is a great reminder of just how good he has been. In 37 games a year ago, and I think it was just over 30 games this year. And it's great to see him get recognized for that. He and Jonathan Schoop worked so well together, and that's why I'd love to see Jonathan Schoop come back. This guy is rock solid. I'd say he's a tick above rock solid. He's a plus defender at second base and provides that pop in the bat. I know the bat was a little quiet before he got hurt, but man, he hit some big home runs. I think it was 2 or 3 to straightaway center at Comerica Park. He's still just 28 years old. And when you've got those two solid defenders in the middle of the infield, it just reminds you how much it makes the entire team defense better. When you've got those 2+ defenders in the middle, they work great together. Schoop is so good turning the double play. That's an aspect that gets overlooked a lot, guys. How often do you successfully turn double plays? Opportunities, how often were you successful? These guys were at 70% turning double plays. That's a really big number, and it just shows you the talent that they have, and it's really a lot of that was due to Jonathan Schoop's terrific arm, turning double plays that a lot of double play combinations would not have turned because he's got that gun to get that guy at first on the back end of the double play. So great to see both getting recognized.
Well, first of all, Double D, I've got to say, love your Halloween motif. I love that you have a pumpkin and a ghost just hanging out on the couch. Your blinking haunted house on the table. Yeah, really, really, really nice. And then I guess a scarecrow or a lighthouse or something in between them. But anyway, with that said, oh, is it a witch? Oh, yeah. I guess I saw the point. I'm thinking, what could that be? Because you have the witch's hand on top of your haunted house. A haunted lighthouse, use your imagination. With that said, and Pat Caputo kind of stole this from me because, or, stole my thunder on this because he asked me or he said it to Daniela, but be honest, have you yet interviewed for the Tigers managerial job? Because now I think the list is like at about 47. So what the heck is going on there? I mean, it's extensive, it's impressive, and Alavila has the time. I'm not really trying to knock him, but my gosh, how many more guys does he want to talk to?
Well, me for one, I think for sure. I think he just, he hasn't gotten around to it. I'm not taking it personally. I know he's got a long list, but I think what he's doing is saving the guys that he's, those dark horse candidates that he really likes. He's saving those for the end. So I think, I still think there's a pretty good shot that I'll get that call. I'm kind of sitting by the phone waiting for it. I think I'd be in way over my head right from the get-go, but why not get an interview?
Well, you know what? I think we can all agree if Dan is the next manager of the Tigers, and who knows, stranger things have happened. We know that Spencer Torkelson makes the squad next year. No doubt about it. He will unleash the torque. There's no question. But with all seriousness, although I am serious, if you were manager, Torque would be in there. Do you expect now when the World Series ends, either today or tomorrow, that this will be a much quicker process? Maybe a week from today, we may have a manager here in Detroit? Or do you see Al, just taking his time?
It's a great question. I think it all has to do with A.J. Hinch and Alex Cora, but really especially A.J. Hinch. I think he's ahead of Cora just because of, again, you have to consider the 2017 scandal and each one's involvement in it and each one how they reacted to it. I think A.J. Hinch comes out looking better. It's something you'll have to deal with, but I think the Tigers could deal with it and make it a kind of a one-day story. But I do think, Alavila's made it clear those two are both on his list. I think he wants to talk to both. And my impression is, they're probably right at the top of the list. Certainly A.J. Hinch would be, based on his track record and all the qualities that we've talked about, that Alavila wants to see in his next manager, from the ability to judge personnel and to evaluate properly, as well as the ability to get the most out of your team. You got the degree in, I think, psychology from Stanford. And the track record is phenomenal. I still would love to see Lloyd McClendon get a serious shot because I think Lloyd would be a very good manager. But I do think that because they have to wait until the end of the World Series, and because he said that A.J. Hinch is on his list, that's what they're waiting for. And they will clearly have to, guys, and I think you might be right. This could all happen very quickly because the Chicago White Sox are clearly going to make a run, I would think. I know they've talked to Tony La Russa, but I think they want to make a run at A.J. Hinch. And you could say that's the more attractive job. But I've said this before, it's really about the fit. And this organization, kind of like what you were talking about with Larry Murphy earlier, Daniela, that I think there are certain things about franchises and the history of that franchise that make it an attractive place for a player to go to or for a manager to go to. And I think the Tigers have that edge over the White Sox. Yes, I'm biased, but I think if you make a big play for him, even though they've got more talent and they're a little further along in their rebuild, this is a franchise that attracts people because of the history and the fan base and the ballpark and all the things that this organization is doing. And I think you would have to make a really hard run because Chicago, I think, is going after A.J. Hinch hard as well. So if you want A.J., I would think that you would have to do that. And to your point, Art, it might happen very quickly because I don't think you can just let it sit out there and let another team come in and take him away if that's the guy that you want.
So let's just say that A.J. Hinch is the front runner right now. We know that today 2 more guys were interviewed in Phil Nevin and Carlos Mendoza, both from the New York Yankees, along with Marcus Thames now too. So 3 Yankees coaches have been interviewed. Yeah. Phil Nevin has a history with the Tigers organization. And I don't want to say that they're not serious about these guys because obviously they are if they're bringing them in for interviews. But which one of those guys do you kind of see as like maybe a second, maybe another choice as a manager position?
Yeah, I thought that was intriguing. Both those names that you mentioned from the Yankees, along with Marcus Thames, like you said, that's 3. And you're clearly going after guys who are in organizations that are at the lead edge of using technology and player development. And really, it's a combination of all those things. The player development side, that's the coaching and the baseball lifers who are imparting their knowledge mixed with the analytics and how they can help you improve. Yankees are certainly at the forefront of that. Have been for a long time. Interesting, Phil Nevin's name popped up. He was in the Tigers organization at Toledo and was let go, I think, during a season or right after a season. So I figured that wasn't a guy that they would look at again. There was a reason he was let go, but clearly they still got a tie with Phil Nevin, and he's been the third base coach for a very good team. So I thought that was very intriguing, though. So all three are intriguing to me. I love the idea of Marcus Thames just because I like the person so much. And for fans, I think it's, as you see some of the analysis of these guys, it's about the leadership qualities, right? I mean, it's not about what kind of job has Marcus Thames done as the Yankees hitting coach, because that's not his job here. His job is to oversee everything and maybe make the odd suggestion, but it's the hitting coach who does that work. So what are his leadership qualities, his teaching qualities, his ability to manage a bullpen? How do you get a feel for that for a guy who's been a hitting coach, but clearly he's been around some really good managers? And those are the kinds of questions Al is asking, because that's going to be a huge thing next year, as we talked about, handling a bullpen, handling a pitching staff, managing those innings. And that's the main job of a manager. And the in-game decision-making, that's a personal preference, but everybody's pretty smart. They're not going to be outmanaged too often by the other guy, but it's how you handle your personnel and get the most out of them. Those are your leadership qualities. And I think Marcus Thames has those off the charts. And so it's interesting. I think they've talked to him a couple times already. So even though he hasn't been a manager, I still think he's of those three that you mentioned from the Yankees, I would think Marcus probably has the edge.
When you look at the whole situation that the Tigers find themselves in, I guess the number one question that I get asked by Tiger fans, I get this quite often, is when are we going to see the kids starting to come up? How do you see next year playing out? That I would assume that Mize and Scooby, Scooble are here. I think that they're going to be part of about the rotation. But beside that, I don't see any of the other name players either in the starting. I mean, they could, but I mean, they would really have to make an impression. They're still maybe a year or two away until we start seeing this, the big club be replenished with high prospects.
It's a great question. And there's been some terrific coverage of the league or the camp that's going on right now, however you want to characterize it. They are playing other teams, so I guess they've got a limited schedule, but there've been some great stories about, for instance, Riley Green. Even though he didn't have a minor league season, feels like his swing improved because of all the coaching that he's getting and all the technology they've used to help him get better. Although really one recent article by Lynn Henning made it quite clear it's the mental side of the equation where he's really gained strength. So can you actually improve as a kid at age 19, 20 next year, in your skills when you didn't have a minor league season? I'm coming to the feeling that for some, the answer to that is yes, and that these are two special hitters in Green and Torkelson. So I think the whole key will be, since we have to remember Riley Green, while he's special and could get to the major leagues quickly, was at low A ball. That's the highest level he's been at. But I do think if you have a normal major or minor league season, which I expect that baseball is planning for right now, because you simply have to figure out a way to help the minor leagues have full season. Starting at Lakeland would be a real possibility, and I could see him making to the major leagues by the end of the year next year. You're right, probably 2022 is the year for the Torkelsons and Greens of the world, the special hitters who can advance quickly. But it is interesting to see all the improvements that these guys themselves feel they made this year, in a year when they didn't get minor league bats. That was the negative. The positive was they had this great coaching and technology and working with guys like Mike Hessman, who can work on the mental side. These guys felt like they improved. I mean, to hear Riley Green, whose swing was pretty sweet to begin with, say swing's never been better, and that he's happy with it right where it is right now because of the improvements, that's kind of exciting to see. And I think the Tigers have a track record of when a guy shows that he has advanced beyond the level of the league he's in, they promote him. And I think he'll determine very much his promotion speed and how fast he gets to the major leagues next year. And that's true for the other guys. And as some have written, it's going to be about those second tier guys, if you will, in terms of how big of a core are you going to get on the position player side of things in the years ahead in their advancement. And I think the thing for fans to watch, beginning of next year, let's see how all this coaching and attention to detail and all the hard work they put in this year with no competitive baseball games until now, right away, you should get a pretty good indicator of where they are at the beginning of next year by, say, a month into the season. You say, oh, all that work paid off. This guy's ready to be a AA or AAA, whatever the level might be.
Dan, before we look ahead to next season, we have to crown a World Series champion. And one last question for you before we let you go. Who's going to take the World Series crown? Is it the Dodgers? And if you are going to pick the Dodgers, do you think we're going to see a Game 7, or is it happening tonight?
I'll go with the Rays. I know they're down 3-2, but I'll go with the Rays just because sometimes you get a feeling that comeback on Saturday night was that's one of the great moments you'll ever see to end a World Series game, to tie a series that could have gone 3-1. I just think they've got that special something that just says we're going to just keep fighting the last at bat and come away with a win when you least expect it. I'll pick the Rays, even though you're battling the odds there, but I do love what they've done. I think they're an exciting team. These are two really talented teams that's stating the obvious, but I mean, just the playmaking we've seen, the clutch at bats we've seen. There's been a lot of fun to watch, but I'll pick the Rays, go out on a bit of a limb just because of their ability to continue to battle to the last at bat and come up with some amazing wins.
I like it. We're going to ride with it. The Rays. Art's taking the Dodgers. Both of us have Rays, so we're going to a Game 7. That's a definite.
Yes.
It's going to be the Rays.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Okay, sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again, Dan. It's always great to have you on.
Absolutely. Enjoyed your conversation, by the way, with Larry Murphy. I think it brought back some great memories talking about the Russian Five. And Art, I know you were there too, but watching them come together and the crowd reaction at Joe Louis Arena when we were covering games in the late 90s, when those five took the ice, it gives me chills thinking about it to this day.
It was definitely ballet on ice. I mean, it was incredible to watch, and being up high in the press box looking down and watching them just, Murph's right. They didn't like a play. They take it back in their own end and redo it again. I mean, and and the opposition's kind of left, flat skated, so to speak. They're just standing there going, what is this? What's going on? I mean, it was pretty incredible.
It really was. Really was. Thanks, guys.
Thank you again, Dan. We'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, Double D.
A big thank you to Karen Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat right here on The Word on Woodward. And look at that, everybody. Even Dan Dickerson remembers the greatness of the Russian Five. So without further ado, let's get into the mastermind behind it all, the headliner, Art Regner and Scotty Bowman.
Thank you, Danielle. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. Our guest is, whom I consider, I say this every time, and I don't say it to embarrass him, the greatest coach, regardless of sport, in professional sports history. Of course, the legendary Scotty Bowman, multiple Stanley Cup winner, obviously several times with the Red Wings as well. Scotty, thanks for joining us on the headliner. It's always a pleasure.
Always good to have a good PR director like you, Art. Thank you.
You know it too. It's been a long time. Scotty, I want to go back to October 27th, 1995. The Russian Five make their debut against the Calgary Flames. I think Calgary had maybe 3 minutes of total puck possession time. Red Wings win the game. But before, why did you want to put those five together? What made it on October 25th or 27th?
Well,
pardon me?
Art,
what were the circumstances?
well, Art, you know that the first Russian to come over, I think, was Sergei Fedorov, and the year before I got to Detroit in 1993, there was Sergei and Vladimir Konstantinov. And Slava Kozlov had just arrived and was actually going to start. I'm sure he played a few games in Adirondack with the farm team. And that was the start of, we had 3 Russians my first year in Detroit because we promoted Slava right away. And then as time went on, I think it was around the trading deadline about in 94-95 season, we were looking for defense depth. And all of a sudden, Slava Fetisov was in the stands with New Jersey. He wasn't playing very much. They had a good team, of course, and we know the history of them winning the cup against us. But I phoned Lou Lamoriello, and we were looking to get some defensemen because we only had 6 NHL defensemen at the time, and we had some young players. But so we made a deal. And I remember bringing it up to Jimmy. Still laughs about it, Jimmy DeVolano, because I went to Jimmy and I said, Jimmy, there's a good Russian defenseman. And I said to Jimmy, but we have to give something a third. Oh no, he said, Scotty, he's 37 or 38. I said, no, but we can, we can use him, Jimmy. No kidding. And he was always good to work with. And he said, okay. He said, if you think so, we'll go along with it. So Slava came in that year, and as you know, we got beat 4 straight by the New Jersey Devils, his old team. And we started the next season, and we had lost in 93-94 season, 94 playoffs. Igor Larionov single-handedly with New Jersey, with San Jose. As you know, we made the trade, and it was actually Slava kept saying, Igor's not too happy in San Jose. And he kept pushing. If we got him, we could have 5 Russians. So Slava was the one reason. So here we come. We come with the 5 of them, and not with any plans that we're going to play them all together. Except we did go to Calgary, and obviously the one game in Calgary, we decided let's make sure that we'll try them, and we had practiced a couple of times, and I'd put them together. Well, I mean, they went into that game, and Mickey still talks about it. I think Calgary had a total of 12 shots on their own ice, and that was the start of it. And then we started to use them. I was always fearful of the fact that, gee, if somebody figures this out, because I couldn't figure it out. I remember I used to talk to Slava quite a bit, and I'd say to him, Slava, I don't know what you're doing, but just keep doing it. I couldn't even coach them, but I think the pinnacle game, we didn't use them regularly, but the one game in particular, it was about 2 months later. It was probably around the 1st of December, 2nd of December. We went into Montreal, and oh my goodness, that was the famous game where Patrick Roy let in, I think, 9 goals after 2 periods. And I was looking at the summary last week because Montreal called me and they were doing a big story about it. I never realized that the Russian 5 scored 15 points in that game right in Montreal. Slava Kozlov got 4 goals. Sergei got the other goal, and they were all in on 5. We had 5 of the 11 goals scored by that line. So I think it was after that game I just started to think, somebody's going to maybe figure out how they can stop these guys, because it was an amazing way that they played. We never saw it in the NHL, and all of a sudden they'd circle in the neutral zone, they'd be bringing the puck around, and all of a sudden up the middle came Vladimir Konstantinov. He was a right defenseman, and he'd be walking in on a breakaway. It didn't really matter about positions because Slava and Vladimir Konstantinov were the defense pairing, and Slava was used to be going up himself, but on the way they worked it is Igor would have it and he would start it, and the next thing you know, we had the threat of Sergei and Slava Kozlov because they played all together. But all of a sudden, Vladimir Konstantinov would get a breakaway. It was unbelievable to watch them.
Well, I always said it was almost like watching, a Russian ballet. I can remember being mesmerized watching them at Joe Louis Arena from the press box, and the way that it was choreographed. It really truly was choreographed. I know you were always a fan of the 5-man unit and the European style of play, or the Russian hockey school, or the old Soviet system, whatever you want to say. Those Red Army teams were fantastic to watch. Did you realize at the time, or as you just said, you thought somebody was going to figure out how to defend them? No one really figured out how to defend them, and it changed hockey. The NHL is now, did you know that you were revolutionizing the North American game?
Well, the Russian system was so much different, as we know. Their game was not defense, it was offense, and their defensive came from puck possession. They never took a lot of shots. They worked the puck right to the goal, and they would have probably a tap in it. And one little story. One year the same year we were practicing the power play, and for some reason I had them on different units. I didn't use them as a power play unit, and I had 2 units, and then all of a sudden I was getting upset. We weren't taking shots, and I had a horn, and if they didn't take a shot, I blew the horn. So finally, Igor liked to fool around a lot, and Igor said to me, "Why don't you try us on the power play?" Well, and I said, "Oh, okay," but then he said, "I need about 10 seconds though." So he told the players, he was spoofing me a little bit. He said, "Let's make sure we don't shoot unnecessarily, because the moment we take an unnecessary shot, he blows the horn." So they started the power play, and they went for about 40 seconds, but they're not taking any shots. So I had to blow the whistle. I said, "Guys, Igor, all you're doing is killing the penalty for the other team." No, he said, "I told them not to shoot because you'd blow the horn and we wouldn't be able to keep playing." So that was the way that he took it upon that. And he was always ahead of the game, as you know. But I would say with he becoming the 5th member, that was the key to the situation, because his original 5-man unit with in Russia, that was the original one. Fetisov played with Kasatonov on defense. They were partners for a long time. And then they had Krutov and Makarov and Larionov. So it was pretty well a natural, because Sergei Fedorov and Slava Kozlov, they played most of their career together, even before we got the Russians and even after. So those 5 guys just meshed so much. And I think they took it as a challenge. The rest of the team, there was no animosity. They could see how good they were. They knew how important they were. And I was always fearful that too much, somebody was going to stop them. Of course, it never happened.
Scotty, if I get asked one question more than any other, not so much even about the Russian 5, it's about Sergei Fedorov and you moving him to defense. And Larry Murphy tells a great story because you partnered him up with Murph. Murph thought it was a permanent move, number one. And I can remember Larry till this day swears that if Sergei would have stayed on defense, he would have won the Norris Trophy. Can you talk about him as a player? Because as great as Steve was, and obviously Nick, I mean, Sergei's talent was he had a very unique skill set, I thought, because he basically seemed to do everything effortlessly.
He was a unique Russian player in that when he first came over to Detroit, it was the year before I got to Detroit. Sergei was one of the great defensive players. He could, because of his skating, his lateral movement, he could move from one side to the other. He was a much bigger player than people realized. He was strong physically, he had a core on him. He could skate forever. He could skate forwards and backwards with equal dexterity. So, he came over and in his first little bit, it was more or less used in a checking role at the time before I got there. And then he blossomed into a great 2-way player. And we had a bunch of injuries and it was always a battle with Detroit with so many good players. Ice time was always a priority. And so we had the injuries on defense, and I didn't know what to do. And there was a couple of really good defensemen. Nick was still there, and I said to Sergei, Sergei, I can get you 23, 24 minutes. Would you mind trying defense? Well, I mean, he went on defense for about 6 weeks. I mean, it was unbelievable. We had he and Nick, and the rest was history because they were just so good both ways, offense, defense, his skating style. So, I remember a couple of years later, I was at a banquet or a dinner one night talking to Wayne Gretzky. And of course, Wayne was always a great supporter of Sergei. They battled it out one year for the scoring title. He just thought he was such an awesome player, and we were talking about Sergei, and he said to me, Scotty, it's an amazing talent. I could never even attempt to play defense. He said, neither could Mario. That we didn't have it in our DNA. But he said neither, and at the time, he said, I doubt even Jaromir Jagr, because he was the dominant player at that time. And he said, I can't believe how he played defense like nobody's business. And that was quite an attribute from Wayne Gretzky. He just thought that he was one of a kind. And we were fortunate, as you know, to have the center ice that we had. And when you think about Sergey and Steve and Igor and Chris Draper, that even allowed us to take sometimes we took Steve and put him on the wing because of his good defensive ability, and he and Sergey and Brendan Shannon became a very good line in the 0-2 playoffs. But yeah, he was a special kind of player, and I mean, we've had a lot of great players play for me, but when he was on his game, which was most times, nobody could stop him.
No, he was definitely something else. Scotty, now I don't know if this question is tampering. I'm not sure if if your son Stan is going to get on the phone with you here real quick, but after he sees this interview. But I'm real curious about some of the moves that Steve has made for the Red Wings. I know we talked about it. It really seems that he has really improved this team in a short period of time. Again, I'm not sure if you're part of the Blackhawks organization, if you can even talk about it, but your thoughts about that.
Oh yeah, I can talk. I mean, Steve is not gonna do an overnight patch, and it takes a lot. I mean, because the fans had to suffer, and so did he. When you're a competitive guy like Steve, it's not easy to see your team. But you look at their team last year, and they kept losing. They played to their potential, but it was always a goal here, a goal there. And I can tell you, I know from around the league, the young players, that the moves he made, like even in the draft in 19, Morris Seidel, the German defenseman, they didn't rush him. They put him in Grand Rapids. Now Steve made that pick, and unfortunately, and he has a good philosophy, because when they slipped from number 1 to number 4 this year in the lottery, a phony lottery, really, it's a shame that a team that was in the bubble playing can get the number 1 pick. But Steve says, we're gonna get the number 4 pick, and we're gonna pick a good player, and they did. So I heard nothing but good reports about Lucas Raymond. I know people from Sweden that know him, and Steve leaned on the great scout Håkan Andersson. So I mean, he's going to be patient, and he's not going to be doing a patch, and he's going to be patient. They're going to take their time, and they're going to build it the right way. And the good thing is, Steve's already done it with Tampa, and then he wasn't there to maybe get the cup this year, but everybody in Tampa and around hockey circles know he's the one that built that organization up, and he never was one to look for accolades. So he's right on target.
Scotty, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I could sit here, as you very well know, and talk to you all day, all night, till Halloween morning or something, about hockey. I really enjoy talking to you, as you know, as I said. Thanks for joining us on the Headliner. It's hard to believe that 25 years ago on Tuesday, October 27th, the Russian Five made their debut. I know you're being a little modest here. You had something to do with it as well, but I appreciate it, Scotty. Nothing but the best, and we'll have you on the Headliner again very, very soon. Thank you.
Good, Art, and I can always remember December 2nd, 1995, because I never expected to go into Montreal, where I was there for 8 years, and I'm not sure about this, but that 11-1 score might be one of the highest ever recorded in that building for a visiting team. And the Russian Five, 15 points, 5 goals, 10 assists. So that was the start of a great memories for all of us. Thank you, Art.
Thank you. And Scotty, real quickly, now I don't know if this will make the final edit or not, because they've got the work cut out for them. But I'm curious, was that Patrick Waugh's last game in Montreal? Was that the game where I know it was against the Red Wings? He demanded a trade.
It was. We kind of paid for it because he was the missing part for Colorado. Patrick. I mean, they emotionally, they actually. The general manager wasn't there very long. Nice man too, Régent Houle. He called around the next day. He called us. We already had our goalies. We had Mike Vernon and Chris Osgood. And I said, I hope he makes a tough deal for somebody. But as it turned out, Colorado didn't pay very much for him. They paid a goalie named Jocelyn Thibault, who wasn't a Patrick Roy. And getting that part, I rued the day that we kind of forced them to trade him, but he got upset, as you know. The rest is history. He went and told the owner, "I'll never play for this team again." And of course, they pretty well had to trade him. Unfortunately, it was an emotional trade made in a hurry, and like some trades, it was so one-sided. It made the Colorado franchise. Yeah.
Really? Well, all right. Well, I guess if there is one maybe negative for the Russian Five, they were just too good in Montreal that night.
Yeah. Okay, Art.
All right. We'll see you, Scotty.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
That'll do it for this edition of the Headliner presented by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, the original light beer, 96 calories. It's delicious, and it's also for delivery. Daniela, back to you.
Thank you, Art. Always great to hear from the legendary Scotty Bowman. We're going to get right into Let's Socialize, presented by AAA. And of course, we're going to bring in Carly Johnston for this one. Carly, what do you have for us today?
All right, Danielle, I have a few things for you today. First up, we're going to start with something the Detroit Red Wings posted with Dennis Chalowski called Kicking It with Dennis. Dennis is a bit of a sneakerhead, so let's take a look at a bit of his closet.
What's up, guys? This is my house. Let's go check out my sneaker closet. This right here, this could very well be my favorite sneaker in the closet. They're not the OG 1994 Jordan ones, but they did a remake in 2015. Chicago ones, one of the first pairs that ever came out. Classic. Every sneakerhead needs one of these in their closet.
Every sneakerhead. Well, unfortunately, I don't have them because I am not a sneakerhead. But Daniela, do you have a favorite go-to pair of shoes?
Okay, I'm pulling an Art Regner on this one because I have a couple. I like shoes, but I'm not a sneakerhead. I do have a pair of like original Air Forces that I love, but my go-to shoes, and I am going to get called basic for this one. I know it. But in the winter, if you're being comfy,
Yes,
it's the best.
Daniela.
It's the best.
Look what I'm wearing right now.
Yes, they're the best. They cannot be beat.
I don't care. Uggs will never, ever go out of style. They're the most comfortable pair of shoes.
Exactly. Yes. Comfy, warm, great. And then, Carly, I know you'll agree with me on this one, too, because a black booty can go with anything. And
Okay, sure.
This is like casual but dressy at the same time. So you could dress it up. You can wear it with jeans. So this is like my other go-to. And if I'm getting really fancy, plain black heel.
Yes.
Pointed toe. That's it.
Always. I'm a pointed toe girl.
Yeah. I know. I know. If I ever ask Carly an opinion on shoes, she's like, no round toe. No round toe.
No,
okay.
No round toe. Yeah, I'm not a round toe fan. Next time you buy your shoes, pointed toes. All right, moving on. Are you even paying attention, Art, to our shoe talk?
Probably not.
No, I was just writing. I was just quoting Danielle. I had to write it down. Black booty can go with anything. What a quote! I love it.
Next time you're buying some shoes for Michelle, just remember what Danielle and I said. Ponytail, black.
Yeah, booty with an I-E, Art, I-E. Don't be
first of all, I don't even call I don't call them sneakers. I don't even know what I call them tennis shoes. That's what I've always called them, no matter what. They're always tennis shoes, right? And maybe sneakers. I've never said sneaker. Hey, I'm going to go shopping for some sneakers. Give me a break. I'm going out to get some tennis shoes. I'm going out to get some tennis shoes.
Weird. You're not wearing every pair of shoe for tennis, like unless you're playing tennis and wearing those shoes. They're not tennis shoes, correct?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Sneakers, it's kind of like soda. It's like soda and pop. I mean, give me a break. It's pop. Pop and tennis shoes. Sneakers and soda, no way.
Simmer down.
All right, I'm done. I'm upset now. I'm so upset my cold sore is about to burst.
All right, we're gonna be full, all right? Give
All
me a
right.
minute.
That was gross, Art.
Moving on to the Tiger side of things, they posted a very funny, well, a normal picture with a very funny caption. So there's a picture of Miggy, and they captioned it, "Do you like Miggy's goat costume for Halloween?" Get it? I mean, because he's the goat. Anyway, question for you, Art. What was your best Halloween costume ever?
Well, my favorite Halloween costume, I love Jethro Bodine of the Beverly Hillbillies, and he dressed up as a wizard one time where he had a wizard hat on, and this is before Harry Potter and, you know, all that kind of stuff, long before, and he had like this cape that had moons and half moons and stars on it, and my mother actually made that for me for Halloween, and I remember going out in the neighborhood, and every house I went to didn't say that's a wizard. They all said it's Jethro Bodine. It's Jethro Bodine. I love that costume. But my favorite, and I actually won a costume. This was when I was a little older. I was in Ann Arbor working at a restaurant that's not there anymore, Maud's, and we had this Halloween party. And I dressed up as a sleazy shirt salesman. I put all kinds of cologne on. I mean, I just reeked of I don't know, Stetson or something. And I put on like a real cheap suit with a tie. And then I took a shirt because I used to work at United Shirt, no longer around. And I had it in a bag and I had it to my arm and I was chewing gum. And I was just walking around Ann Arbor going up to people, may I interest you in a shirt? May I interest you in a shirt? I was just a sleazy shirt salesman and I actually won best costume. So that was actually my, I guess best costume because I actually won. I used to dress like a tourist too, wear like shorts, Bermuda shorts, Hawaiian shirt with an Instamatic Kodak camera, and have like a hat on and just snap pictures of people. You know, my costumes were always kind of weird, like that.
Nothing better than a mom's homemade Halloween costume. I had a couple.
No doubt about it. The wizard, Jethro Bodine wizard's the best. Oh my gosh.
Favorite. We got you wearing the Michigan Wolverine helmet on the left, but then you're Toad from Mario Kart on the right. Resemblance is just uncanny.
I had no idea. I still don't know who Toad is, but I like the hat.
Well, Art, what will you be dressing up? I want to dress up a show. Are we doing that? What are you
Pardon
gonna?
me?
Surprise! Let's dress up on Thursday's show. Let's do it.
Oh.
All right. My third bullet point.
I'm gonna go as a cold sore. I can't believe you guys can't see this thing. It's like gigantic.
Stop pointing it out.
Okay. No one would have noticed.
It really bugs me. I've never had one of these before in my life. I can't even shave.
All right. I'm going to go with third bullet point. As we've been talking about for so long, today is the 25th anniversary of the Russian Fives debut. With that, the Detroit Red Wings Twitter, they are allowing fans to tweet them with their last name, and they are Russianizing your last name, if you will. That is still going on, so head on over to the Detroit Red Wings Twitter if you want to Russianize your last name. But they were nice enough to do that for us. So we have here, my last name would be Johnstonov. Art's last name, here we have, Daniela's last name would be Brewski. And then Art's last name would be Regnarov. I believe we have that. Maybe we can pull that up real quick. But, we have it here. Johnstonov.
I like that.
Regnarov. I love it. Brewski's almost my favorite.
Well, you know what? I think that you have to just change it a little bit for Daniela. I mean, I like the name and I like the pronunciation, but I think you've got to spell it Brewski. Brewski.
I love it. That was a good one. Daniela. That's good. So they're still doing that on Twitter. But what about numbers? I was number 3.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even see the numbers.
I said that. We have
20.
Daniela 20, me at 3, and Art, you're 00.
Zero the hero.
Yeah, I actually have a legitimate Red Wing jersey with my name on the back that the Red Wings gave me, tie down and everything. I'll wear it maybe next show. That is 00. The 00. It says Regner on the back. It really does. I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those people that wear, like, I would never wear a 19 jersey with Yzerman on the back, or 91 with Fedorov, or 71 with Larkin. To me, that's kind of eerie. That kind of creeps me out. A grown man wearing a jersey of a player. Maybe vintage, like 3, a Yankees jersey with 3. But Babe Ruth never had their names on the back. Maybe that's it.
Maybe the rule should be if the player's older than you.
Yeah.
Well, that's never going to happen.
Not for you anymore. So you're screwed.
Yeah. That ship has sailed.
Yeah, that would be a Gordie Howe-esque kind of player if Hart Regner was able to wear his
Right. It would definitely be. It would definitely be. Yeah.
Wearing jerseys.
I do have. We don't. It's 2:00 already, but I'm very bad jersey luck.
We're gonna turn into pumpkins.
We'll take that for another time.
Yeah, I will tell you guys that story when we have time one day. It's a long one. There's actually multiple stories. It's very unfortunate.
We'll see you later, Brewski. See you, Johnstonov.
Bye,
Johnstonov signing off. Bye, guys.
Great job by Boss Man and Boss Lady putting that stuff together for us. Thank you. And our huge graphics team. Our people behind the scenes are the very best.
Again, head over to the DRW Twitter if you want to get your last name Russianized as well. But thank you again. See you guys on Thursday.
Thank you, Carly. And yes, you guys head over to the Detroit Red Wings Twitter account if you want your own Russian jersey. A big thank you to AAA for presenting Let's Socialize. AAA says thank you with free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. And we have come to the end of another edition of The Word on Woodward presented by Raymond. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you missed any of today's show, head over to the Word on Woodward YouTube page. You can watch all of our interviews on there, including that interview with Scotty Bowman and Art. That was a great interview. So if you did miss it, again, head over to the Word on Woodward YouTube page. We have all of our interviews over there. Or you can listen to the show as a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. The Word on Woodward will be back on Thursday at noon. It'll be a little Halloween edition. We're going to have some fun on the show. So make sure you are tuning in on Red Wings and Tigers social media and DetroitRedWings.com and Tigers.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you on Thursday.